187 is a gripping 1997 thriller film. It follows Trevor Garfield, a dedicated high school teacher who confronts violence and gang culture in his new Los Angeles school. After surviving a brutal attack, Garfield seeks justice and exposes the failing education system, leading to a dangerous showdown with a vengeful gang leader. Hello, and welcome to I.M. Movies. The film begins with Trevor Garfield, a high school physics teacher at Roosevelt Whitney High School, riding to school on a bicycle. When Mr. Garfield gets to school, he heads straight to teach his students on different types of force, using his bicycle as an example. Mr. Garfield pulls out one of the bike's wheels and calls one of the students, Tywin, to help him out. Mr. Garfield instructs Tywin on what to do with the bicycle while sitting down. They are all amazed by the outcome of the experiment. They all cheer Tywin as he continues to spin the bike in excitement. Meanwhile, Mr. Garfield opens his textbook and finds his name with the number 187 written on all the pages. He also finds the name of a student called Dennis Broadway on it. Mr. Garfield is confused and runs to the school's principal, Walter. Mr. Garfield shows in the book, and Walter only complains about how the school is going through a budget crisis, but Mr. Garfield fears there is more to it. Mr. Garfield reminds Walter that 187 is the police code for homicide.
It says 187, Walter. That's the police code for homicide.
And that Dennis Broadway is a known gangster. But Walter dismisses it as another student putting up a new rap song. Mr. Garfield is scared that Dennis is going to come after him, because Walter had informed Dennis that he was going to fail Mr. Garfield's class. In the end, Walter dismisses the case as a bluff. Later, Mr. Garfield leaves Walter's office and the school bell rings. Students immediately flood the hallway, and Mr. Garfield walks with suspicion as he moves past them. Soon, Dennis appears from behind and pulls out a sharp object. Mr. Garfield sees him through a mirror, but it was too late. The student pushes him to the wall and stabs him several times before running away, leaving Mr. Garfield to struggle on the floor. Fast forward to 15 months after the incidents, Mr. Garfield gets a call from John Quincy Adams High School asking him if he was available for a 4-day sub as a science teacher, and he agrees. Mr. Garfield prepares his clothes and says a prayer to God afterward. When he gets to the school, he asks for directions to the class he'll be teaching. On his way, he walks through a basketball court filled with gang members, and they all stare at him. When he gets to the class, he prepares his teaching materials, takes a deep breath, and uses his inhaler. Later, he begins to write some unfamiliar words on the board, but the students don't understand and they all complain. He runs out of chalk and looks for more in the teacher's locker. As he was looking for it, another teacher walks in. He introduces himself as Dave Childress, a history teacher.
This is Dave Childress, American history.
Mr. Garfield realizes he's in the wrong class and Dave shows him the right one. Later, Dave walks into the new class to find it messed up with students and gangs hanging around. He meets a girl carrying a crying doll, and she tells him it's not a real baby. He notices some students looking outside and walks up to them. He finds out that they've thrown all the textbooks out. Mr. Garfield asks one of the students to pick them up, but he refuses. Mr. Garfield asks for his name, and he lies that his name is Cesar Chavez. He shows Mr. Garfield his ankle and tells him he's already under house arrest, saying there's nothing Mr. Garfield could do to him. At the same time, some students walk out, and Mr. Garfield calls them back, but they won't answer. The student he met earlier tells him that they were not part of his class and Cesar Chavez's real name was Benny Chacon.
And this fool's name is Benny Chacon.
Benny mocks Mr. Garfield, and the whole class laughs. Mr. Garfield asks him if he was done and hands him a detention slip. Benny walks out of the class halfway and throws the ruffled slip back at Mr. Garfield. The slip hits his back, and he freaks out, and they all laugh at him. During the lunch break, Dave advises Mr. Garfield and gives him a breakdown of the situation of things in the school. He informs him that the school administration doesn't care and asks him to be strict with students to show them who the boss is. Another teacher, Miss Ellen Johnson, joins them and they introduce themselves.
Ellen Henry, computer science.
Trevor Garfield.
Dave asks Mr. Garfield about his former school, and he's excited as he learns that Mr. Garfield was the teacher that got stabbed 15 months ago at Roosevelt Whitney High School. Meanwhile, Miss Ellen couldn't stand the discussion, and she walks away while Dave and Mr. Garfield continued to discuss. The next day in class, another student named Rita disrespects Mr. Garfield and tells him he's got a nice butt.
You got a nice butt.
He asks her a question, but she gets it right. Mr. Garfield notices another student writing on his desk and asks him to clean it up, but he refuses, and another student named Steve Littleton, who is improperly dressed, interrupts. Mr. Garfield asks him to wear his clothes properly, but the school bell goes off, and they all leave the class. Rita later apologizes to Mr. Garfield for her earlier behavior, and he forgives her. Later, Miss Ellen walks in and apologizes to Mr. Garfield for leaving during lunch. She then tells him about Benny Chacon's atrocities and how he and his gang had pinned the former pregnant science teacher, Mrs. Skander, to the wall. Miss Ellen tells Mr. Garfield about how she had testified against Benny's character in court and how he had been threatening her ever since. Mr. Garfield asks her to inform the principal, but she says it seems he doesn't care. She tells him she's scared Benny would hurt her, and Mr. Garfield asks her to quit her job.
You can quit.
That night, Benny and his gang catch a boy spray painting on a wall. Benny accuses the boy of destroying his work, and the boy apologizes, but Benny won't listen. Benny points a gun at him, but then his ankle monitor starts to beep. The boy tries to escape, but Benny shoots him in the leg and then kills him afterwards. The next day, Mr. Garfield calls the roster and finds out Benny was absent. It seems he ran away. Later, Mr. Garfield receives news of his extended work period till the end of the year. He tells Miss Ellen about it, and she asks him about Benny, saying she heard he hasn't been seen in 4 days. She seemed happy about it as she expressed her gratitude to Mr. Garfield for giving her a shoulder to cry on. Later that night, Miss Ellen visits Mr. Garfield for dinner, and they both discuss their life experiences as they laugh and dance. While they were dancing, Miss Ellen falls on the couch and pours her drink on Mr. Garfield. He rushes to the bathroom and asks her to get him baking soda from the kitchen. She rushes to give it to him, but sees the horrible scars from the stab wounds on his body, and she freaks out. Later, Mr. Garfield walks her home, and she apologizes for how she behaved and then gives him a flower to liven up his house. The next day, Mr. Garfield decides to show the students a drug experiment. He calls out to Caesar to read a text, but he couldn't, and they all laugh at him. Mr. Garfield pulls out a pocket watch to start the experiment on a mouse, and Caesar asks him if he could have the watch.
It's a nice watch, eh? Can I have it?
Mr. Garfield ignores him and proceeds with the experiment. The mouse passes out after being administered the drug, but Mr. Garfield tells them that it'll wake up. After some time, they all began to worry, and the mouse wakes up. Immediately after that, the school bell rings, and they all start to leave. But Mr. Garfield notices his watch was missing. He quickly calls Caesar, but he wouldn't stop. Later, Mr. Garfield decides to meet with Mr. Howland, the students' union rep. On his way, he's informed that the principal wants his attention. When he gets there, Caesar and his friend, Steve Littleton, were already there with Mr. Howland. The principal tells Mr. Garfield that the students reported him for accusing them of stealing his watch.
Sanchez and Mr. Littleton tell me you've accused them of stealing your watch.
The principal asks them to empty their pockets, and they did. Mr. Garfield asks for a locker search, but the principal asks the students to leave. The principal tells Mr. Garfield that he can't authorize a locker search, and he tries to protest it, but Miss Howland cautions him and gently pulls him out. They both walk to Mr. Howland's office, and Mr. Garfield complains about the behavior of the students to him. Howland explains to Mr. Garfield that the principal only cares about the students, whom he always refers to as his clients. Later, Mr. Howland gets a call and heads out with a file, leaving Mr. Garfield. He sees a box containing extra keys to every student's locker and takes one. Later, Mr. Garfield drives Miss Ellen home, and she tells him about a conference she'll be attending in San Francisco in 2 days, asking him to help her take care of her dog, Jack, and he agrees. The next day in school, Rita walks in crying because she failed her essay again. She feels the English teacher hates her and is racist towards her. Mr. Garfield tells her to calm down and offered to teach her what she was missing out in her essay. Later that day, after teaching her at his place, he goes to prepare her a drink, and when he gets back, he finds her naked. He's surprised at this and asks her to put on her clothes. Rita starts to cry, but Mr. Garfield tells her not to cry, then tells her they'll have to meet in the library from then on.
Look, maybe we better meet in the library from now on, okay?
The next day in class, Mr. Garfield sets up a camera and calls out Caesar to the front, then shows him the watch that was missing. Caesar accuses him of breaking his locker and threatens to sue him, but Mr. Garfield made him understand it was a bad idea and that they were now even, but Caesar is disappointed and tells Mr. Garfield that it was just the beginning. Later that night, Mr. Garfield goes to Caesar's house to broker peace. But Caesar is not happy Mr. Garfield came to his house. However, Mr. Garfield notices how Caesar maltreats his mother and sister. The next day, Mr. Garfield's class has been destroyed. Dave blames the students around, but Mr. Garfield tells him to stop. Mr. Garfield confronts Caesar and his gang, and they all try to fight him, but he walks away. Later that evening, Mr. Garfield picks up Miss Ellen from the airport, and she notices that he's disturbed. When they get home, they found Miss Ellen's dog dead, hanging from his leash. Miss Ellen is devastated seeing this as she cries uncontrollably, but he later calms her down and gives her aspirin for her pain. However, she says she wants to be left alone. Mr. Garfield found the gang sign sprayed at the gate of his house, so he follows the footprints and finds drunk Caesar spray painting on a street sign. He shoots him an arrow laced with drugs, and he passes out. After a while, Miss Ellen wakes up and calls out to Mr. Garfield, but he wasn't around. So she searches for more aspirin in his drawers, but she finds Benny's rosary instead, and she's shocked. The next day, Caesar wakes up with one of his fingers gone. While he was being treated at the hospital, he tells police detectives that Mr. Garfield was responsible for his attack, but they don't believe him. Later, a finger was mailed to the hospital. The next day in school, Mr. Garfield teaches about what makes up the human fingers and tells them to raise their fingers just to mock Cesar.
Everybody wiggle your flanges, please.
Mr. Garfield visits Miss Ellen in her office and tells her about how the gangs have started to behave themselves since Cesar's incident. Mr. Garfield continued to give Rita extra lessons. She tells him she wants to become a writer, and he encourages her. During one of Miss Ellen's classes, Steve Littleton anonymously sends an email about her having an affair with Mr. Garfield to the whole class. She finds out he's the one and sends him to the principal. She later goes there herself, but she was told he didn't show up. However, she notices Benny's mother sitting there. Benny's mother asks Miss Ellen to come with her to identify her son's body at the morgue, as she could not speak English. Later, they both go together and discover it was truly Benny's body. Later that night, Miss Ellen confronts Mr. Garfield about the death of Benny and Cesar's finger. She brings out the rosary she found in his drawers and he tells her the truth. She walks away crying that she does not know Mr. Garfield enough.
I don't know who you are.
During a school festival, Steve confronts Mr. Garfield in the restroom, accusing him of killing Benny and cutting Cesar's finger. Mr. Garfield angrily dashes at him, and he runs away to meet Cesar and his gang. They all decide to attack Rita. They beat her up publicly, and she runs away. The school organizes a meeting to clear the air on Benny's death. During the meeting, Steve and Cesar kept accusing Mr. Garfield of killing Benny, and they tried to stop them, but they run away. At the meeting, Dave walks up to Mr. Garfield, but he doesn't want anything to do with him. He asks for a ride home, and kept talking about how he was once in a similar situation. Dave shows Mr. Garfield his gun collections, and kept talking about how he's sure Mr. Garfield has a relationship with Rita, and later asks if he was responsible for Benny's death. The next day, Mr. Garfield waits for Rita in the library, but she didn't show up. But while at the library, he sees a mirror and experiences a flashback to his attack. Later, Mr. Garfield visits Rita at her house, convincing her to come back to school for her finals. She tells him she's done.
Get the fuck out of here. I don't need your damn pity, I don't need you.
Mr. Garfield promises to protect her from Dave, but she wasn't having it, so she leads him outside. At the principal's office, Mr. Garfield gets the news that he's been fired from the school due to accusations leveled against him, and tears drop from his eyes. The principal gives him till Friday to leave. After leaving the principal's office, he packs up his stuff to leave but notices that someone had written 187 on his car. When he also gets home, he found his house had been repeatedly sprayed with the number 187. Afterward, he notices a car parked opposite his house, but he walks in. In the car, Cesar and his gang members are planning to attack Mr. Garfield. They all shave their head and rush out to kill Mr. Garfield. Meanwhile, Mr. Garfield is waiting for them as they storm in. He tells them where he is and they all rush in, pointing their gun at him. Cesar demands Mr. Garfield admits killing Benny, and he did. Cesar gives Mr. Garfield a revolver with just one bullet to kill himself. He tries it 3 times and dares Cesar to try it too.
Am I macho enough for you, Cesar?
Cesar pulls it once to prove himself as a man, but adds another bullet to reduce the chances for Mr. Garfield. Mr. Garfield pulls the gun to his head for the 4th time, and he's lucky again. He asks Cesar to go next, but he was too scared,
So now you're the victim.
so Mr. Garfield pulls it to his head and unfortunately kills himself. They were about to run away, but Cesar was not satisfied, stating that Mr. Garfield took his turn and would like to prove himself for the last time. His friends try to talk him out of it, but he pulls it anyways and kills himself. The students finally graduate and Rita is among them, and she gives the speech. She talks about how Mr. Garfield had helped her and what she learned from him. Meanwhile, Miss Ellen cries in regret and finally quits her job. Through its thought-provoking themes and social commentary, 187 explores the dark underbelly of the American education system. It sheds light on the profound impact of violence, gang culture, and institutional failures on both students and educators. And that's the end of this recap. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.